using this language that we're going to share this afternoon with the symbols and the board, the more you involve the team in this conversation using this language, the quicker you engage people. So it shortens the amount of time that you're taking to get the job done, and you're getting better outputs. So you're bringing challenges out and you're discovering opportunities quicker to get the job done because you've got the whole team on the same page. Once you've activated the colleague, then they're more effective at their learning, they're changing their strategy. So we're really, in your big pick world, we're flipping over the whole dynamic about how we go about these things. Being a business analyst, getting frustrated that I couldn't engage the wider team in the time that I wanted. So I used to do lots of doodles and things in my book, and I used to come up with little ways of engaging people so they could say, oh yeah, I get that, and this, and this. And that was really important because what was happening was I was finding out how that team worked. And all I've done since then is turn it into a product initially. And then instead of telling people how lovely my product is, it was better to talk about what solutions it solved. And I've now got a lead partner specialist for each of those disciplines that I've mentioned. So it allows us to deploy the big picture tool in different ways. It measures anything from things you can count. It could be something you report on. It could be something quite formal, like a key performance metric. It could be a net promoter score at the formal end. At the informal end, it could be something that's just pertinent to you working in an office where you see boxes getting thrown away like waste, or you see vans going past, you might count them and think, why are there so few on a Monday? Why are there so many on a Wednesday? So this measure symbol is something that you count. It's the measure symbol. So over to you, Raj. How important do you think that is to a successful organization?
Well, I would say it's very important. And the reason why it's important, because if you can't manage something, then you can't, if you can't measure something, then you can't manage it. So how do you know how successful something's going for the company? How do you know there's a problem in the company? You can only know if it's a problem if you're measuring it. To be able to measure something, you need to set the right processes in place to measure to begin with. So for example, those calls that come in and those threats that we have, we need a process to measure them to begin with.
So I think the team is the most important thing.
Okay.
I think that's what the organization is based around. Team capability. Without the team, there's nothing really to measure or talk about, and it sort of is the central fulcrum to what is required. So nice. Keen on investing in teams rather than projects.
Well, so without the team, you can't really measure anything, can you? So you need to understand the skill sets of your team. What's the capability? And then the processes and the measurement comes over afterwards.
From my point of view, I think it is the customer, because with no customer, you have no team and there's no reason to measure anything. But measuring in a new digital world where we currently are, automatically would imply technology. So it would almost say, basically technology, it should be on the bottom. The technology here sits underneath the stuff you measure, or actually underneath the processes. I think technology has been for a long couple of years or maybe decades dictating how we should work and how we should do things. And by now, with the help of I'm working for a Microsoft house and not for a Google house, but especially with COVID-19, technology has demonstrated that it makes things possible, and therefore, from my point of view, technology should be either off the board or underneath what you measure or your dashboards, basically, or underneath processes, supporting in the end the team. So it's actually not a relevant. it shouldn't be a relevant discussion.
That's a great point. This method of facilitation is there to encourage alternative perspectives and points of view. And look where Tycho's put the technology symbol. I love it. We attract these kind of views.
No, I think it's a fair point, and I think that's where we need to be. I see a lot of technology that is a disenabler to do any of those things that we've just talked about, which Tycho's talked about.
Customer to a successful organisation, well, they're obviously important because they, well, you can't get any money if you don't have any customers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But are they more or less important than anything else? Well, they're more important than lots of the enablers, which are the other things that I think are around the board. The staff are obviously the important thing.
Yeah. We've got the two people symbols, team and customer, and that's often a pattern that we see, which backs up the statement, businesses are all about people. Steve made the comment, that's where you invest, etc. So that's not uncommon to see that.
I'd say, well, you measure, a lot of companies measure their success on how much income they bring in to a company. So without any kind of finance, how can you grow? How do you measure that success? So you got your customers that you need to drive in. You've got your technical staff, your sales staff that bring in that, and then you need to measure that. And how do you measure that? And that's where we set up the processes and the milestones.
Lovely. We run this exercise because what we like to do is to find out, we like to pass over the knowledge of what the symbols mean so we can engage people fully in the later exercise. We've got the symbols, and now we're going to actually look at the thing. How would you arrange it and what's going through your mind? And Steve, what are you observing when Raj is moving things about? Is there anything you see that you would guide him with? That the purpose of the business goes at the top. So we always start with a why. The purpose goes at the top. Now, normally, here's a commentary. Management normally goes at the top in a hierarchy. We don't do that with Big Picture. We have management at the bottom, buoying up and supporting the way the business works. And then we have the yellow customer journey running left to right across the organization. How does that sound?
I think that management is a supporting function. I think it is at the bottom. I think the top of the organization should be those people dealing with the operation.
Yeah, interesting.
Management is supporting that as best. I like to think in good organizations, you've sort of tipped the pyramid over so it looks more like that.
I actually get excited talking to teams when that conversation breaks out, because that's a wonderful conversation to have. And the other pattern to spot is you've got the purpose here, you've got the value at the center, and you've got the customer running all the way through. So you've got this lovely triangle, and it's one of the big picture essential patterns that we find works really well. This is over all our physical and our digital product. The idea is that anybody, irrespective of education or background, can actually work with those patterns quite simply and easily because they're reasonable, they're straightforward, and everyone can get to them. You don't need a BA, you don't need an MBA, you don't need Lean Six Sigma, you don't need any of these things. This is a conversation to be had with engineers, chemists, IT people, van drivers, receptionists. I think everybody should have a voice in that conversation, which is why none of these patterns are overwhelming and difficult. Tycho's just joining us again. So that's one of the patterns. So we've looked at, hi Tycho, welcome back.
So Martin, how do you keep that? Because I like the simplicity of that. I like that this should be that everybody in the organization look at this stuff, because quite often, visions and objectives and all the rest of it become a conversation all in themselves in an organization instead of being shared by everybody.
Yeah. But
how do you keep that at the center of of the conversation? This must be everything. Everybody must be able to see this. If you look, in my experience of strategy development, it goes the other way from that. It tries to make things more and more complex.
And I would put to you, this is why I got excited, because this is my bringing to the party what that language should be. And I'm going to show you how you keep everyone on the same page.
I got the kit myself on my desk permanently for the last couple of 2 years, I think.
Hey, Tycho, that's brilliant. Why don't you use that and we'll use the digital kit and you use the physical prop? That's fantastic. It's a good compliment.
I hate technology. I'm old-fashioned.
Hey, Tycho, you are rocking it in the Netherlands. You are the demonstrator of why, if we get this simple language right, we can flip between digital and physical and back again, because we've got Tycho running the same brain cycles on his desk in the Netherlands using a physical bit of kit that I'd forgotten I'd sent him probably more than 2 years ago. The layout of the board is exactly the same as we've just created. You're allowing free-flowing thinking and conversations with everybody in the organization, but you're handing them either the physical symbols like Tycho and I have got on our desk, the measure symbol, or you're going into this spanner drawer here and you're dragging on the measure symbol here.
Well, I'm between marketing and operations, so I'm going to stick in both, actually. That'll make it easier. I'm just sticking to Raj's.
And give Steve a bit of an insight why you think that's part of your introduction.
So in the current company, I'm actually involved with putting together the marketing material, bringing in the new sales, and then I'm also involved in delivering that work.
Yeah.
So creating that service, getting it out to market, driving new customers in, to adopt that service, and then I help operationally deliver that service as well.
In the current job out today, it's about providing technology to the business that I'm in, which is currently education, so university, and it's all about providing supporting technology for teaching and learning, administration, and research.
As a consultant, you come in. So are you a partner? Are you a supplier?
Oh, that is a brilliant point.
Or are you suddenly a part of the management? Actually, the company where I'm as a consultant working for over 4 years, so that's a bit strange. I become part of the management because the management considers that they want a consultant there. If I look at what I'm doing, I'm actually doing conceptualization of products, so that's more marketing, I would say.
Hey, that's brilliant, Tycho. I'm going to pick on something you said because I love the connections you're making across the board. To Steve, I know you a little bit, Steve. You've worked with a few consultants in your time. When Tycho talks about let's call him a good consultant because I know he is a good consultant more in the partner space, or does he become for a period a proxy part of management, or is it better to see him as a partner or supplier even? What's your view?
So I would prefer a relationship where he was in that box at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because I think that means he's got a bit more skin in the game.
Wow.
If he's in that box, I would prefer him in that box as being part of what we're trying to do rather than in that sort of supplier.
I love this. And Steve, here's a question for you. I think Tycho can stand this up in terms of relationship. What if Tycho was lousy and really bad consultant? Would that change your view, or would you still want him in the bottom box? You don't need to mention any names.
No, I'd still want him in the bottom box.
Better the devil you know inside the tent, weighing out, rather than the other way around.
So I think this is one of the key relationships we have, which is understanding and making sure that the technology we are deploying is supporting that particular function. In other words, it's an enabler to that. It isn't something that prevents that happening. So it's got to move at the same velocity that Raj wants. It's got to be, the quality that he wants from that. And we're only going to get that if we listen very carefully to what he's got to say.
Nice. Is that about expectation setting? About the right expectations have got to be set in marketing and sales with the customer. That's one of the big patterns that we see about consistency of messaging and delivering against expectations. Is that fair?
That would be true, Martin. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah. And to you, Raj, from the other end of that dialogue, imagine there's been troubles in this fictional organization, and it's the first time you've been in the room with Steve, the operation technical guy, and you've just had a moment where you've thought, actually, I've just understood something differently in the way Steve's explained it. Is that too tenuous in the way I've connected that together, or do you think that could have been an aha moment because you've heard Steve describe it in that way?
No, I do come across, so I come across with people that are quite open for us to work with them, and they see us as the experts. That's why I've been brought in.
Yeah.
We also get to a stage where people are quite scared to let us in because they're quite worried on what we would find. Because if Steve's been working that organization for 10 years, I'm literally, sometimes what they see is us coming in and marking their homework.
The business end of big picture, this is where we get to like an action plan, an agreement where it's going to work. So there's some opportunities going on there. Steve, if you get a couple of challenges on, when you add opportunities onto here and then you go up into the top right, it's adding them pre-populated. So you're getting a load of challenges on the board based on a common understanding, everyone on the same page. You're adding opportunities, and if you change the text of those opportunities, it will add them in. And then I could say to either of you, please, can you reorder that opportunities drawer? So if you go into that opportunities drawer, you can move these up and down. And Raj, or I know, Steve, you might not be able to do it if it's still locked, but if you just move things up and down, you'll see that list reforming as you move things up and down. Now, if you're running this conversation with your team digitally, this is a really quick way to go from a shared common understanding, which is like diverse thinking or emergent thinking, into convergent thinking. So basically, Steve, if you imagine your team, you would say, look, that's everything on one page. That's our ground truth. That's how we see this organization. Everyone's had a choice, a chance to chip in. We're going to focus down on the opportunities and we're going to order them. And this is getting close to your action plan or your outputs. You don't need to start recording actions separately. They're inbuilt into the process because it's been designed to speed things up in that way. Everybody is accountable and has had their, Steve has said, skin in the game. And as a result of that, they're more likely to follow through on the actions from what has been said.
Well, I really like this. So I think, so my immediate thing, Martin, is that there's, not only is the common language there, but it's uncomplicated language. We're not trying to create a language that it sounds like you're speaking a different language. And I think with those, when you get to that sort of opportunities bit, if you think that's a co-creation thing, that's a really effective way of prioritizing. Prioritizing, you know, is big problem in practically everything I've been involved in. You know, that's been a bit of a thorny thing about how you prioritize what we're going to tackle next. And part of that is trying to get joint agreement on what we're trying to prioritize. And I like that everybody's having a say in what these things are.